Well, I understand why you wouldn't want people to know, but I just think it's cool that you have a writing credit for what in the butt. But anyway, I think we should get the pod started, Matt. It's cool. It went viral. It's got like 75 million views, dude. I'd want more people to know about it, but you can I'll cut this bit out. You don't have to worry about it, Matt. It won't, nobody will know. Okay.
Man, you were hyping up this intro and I was like, I have no idea what it's going to be. And then that was what it was. And well done. Well done.
Remember, that was like the early days of the internet back when you were
that is so long ago.
Yeah. That's like when you shared memes by like telling people in person about them. Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, have you seen the latest meme? Hang on, open your laptop. I'll type in the website for you. Yeah, that's how you shared memes. It's like, yeah, you remember like the early days, like peanut butter jelly and like hamster dance and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, it's just funny now what we were like all excited about in the early meme days. Now it's just like meme central. You just have like an endless feed.
Do you remember
memes.
it wasn't that long ago, it was like 15 years ago, but the Rage comic stuff, you remember those? They've now evolved into like other things, but
I think so. I might just not know it by the name Rage
if you
comic.
saw it, you would probably recognize it immediately.
Like really poorly illustrated.
Yeah.
Like MS Paint style stuff.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I remember those. Those were good. That was we used to read those back when I was learning HTML, not like the new version of HTML, like the original HTML. In my high school HTML class, and that was fun. That's kind of the extent of my coding knowledge, I'm being honest. Yeah, I am. We took a graphic design class in high school as well, and that just turned into LAN party class, and we just played Tribes, the original Tribes. And
you should.
Yes, and then Quake 2. Whatever games were like easily piratable and then shareable on all the computers in the classroom.
For literally your classroom, right? Yeah.
And then we just trash talked the whole time, and the teacher was just like, I'm not going to try and control these animals, and that's what we did.
What a failure of a teacher, no offense. Jesus.
Oh, for real, dude. My high school was awful. I had such a bad high school. I think I had 4 principals in the 4 years I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that good. A real fast turnover rate on employment there.
High quality education.
Yeah. I had a good middle school. You
turned out all right, though.
Yeah. You know what? It's like, it teaches you perseverance, right? It kind of teaches us like, we're not going to hold your hand in life. If you want to make it, you got to figure it out on your own.
You got to try yourself.
Yeah.
Though granted, expecting children to have the kind of intuition and instinct to try to strive to be better because they know in 20 years that knowledge is going to be important. Bold thing to assume.
I mean, looking back on it now, like I'm so envious of like people learning the things I had to learn back then, because they have like a YouTube video, or they can Google like, why doesn't this thing work? And then they will get the answer immediately. I had a book like this thick, Matt, for like 3D Studio Max. That was like, if you want to learn how to do 3D animation, read this 1,000-page long book. And if you run into a problem along the way, of which you will run into 10,000 problems,
you have to somehow figure it out with a book. It out.
Yeah, no, or like the book wouldn't tell you. You would just, because the book wouldn't anticipate the 10,000 problems you're going to run into. And so you just figure it out. And that was that. I'm surprised anybody learned anything, man.
Yeah. Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages is what it was. I mean, compared to what it is now, that's what they're going to look back on, like the 90s and early 2000s, like in the next 10 years or so. They'll be like, oh my gosh, these people.
I hope so. I hope we're headed towards a utopia of knowledge, and we'll actually use said knowledge, and it won't become everyone just relies on it to the point where we don't actually know anything.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting plugged into the Matrix, and then we'll just be in one of your like leveling anime fantasies, you know?
One of my anime fantasies?
Yeah, you know, when everybody's like stuck in the MMO together, and then we all have to like.
Yeah, but why did you choose my fantasy?
Because you watch all the Crunchyroll stuff, and they do that. I mean, all the time.
From time to time. Okay, yeah, I guess.
I mean, do you have a Crunchyroll subscription?
I do have a Crunchyroll subscription.
Yeah, okay. You watch all the Crunchyroll stuff. Oh man. Well, welcome to the Level With Me podcast, everybody. Check out our links in the description if you want to support us. We got a Patreon. You can watch us live and join us for the post-podcast live show, which gets crazy, let me tell you.
Oh man.
Wild.
Take it all off.
Yeah. And other than that, just hang out, enjoy the podcast. We got Battlefield 6 news to talk about.
We do?
And when I say what? Battlefield 6 news, I mean rumors about Battlefield 6 news.
My favorite kind of content, rumors.
Yes. Well, Tom Henderson, the one and only.
Wait. One second. Mm-hmm. Let me guess. Battlefield 6, weapons. There's going to be maps, vehicles, large variety of sandbox elements. Mm-hmm. Maybe your character will be able to lean left and right. Maybe different kinds of attachments. And updated graphics.
Yeah,
am I close?
Enemy faction might be Russian, Chinese. We're not somewhere in
before we actually get into it. That it feels like what a lot of these rumors and leaks. Like there was a rumor people were talking about in a leak was like you'll be able to lean in Battlefield. It's like okay,
yeah, and you're like,
all right.
Fascinating.
Cool. Like, are we really at that point?
We've had leaning before. It's just been auto leaning. So now they're
like if you go up to a wall or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Also, that kind of update from a game design standpoint is like somebody just checking a box, being like, I guess I'll put a key binding in for it instead.
Literally, it is the most basic, nothing ever. But okay, continue.
Titillating information.
I'm excited. Hit me with these rumors.
So the rumors are indicating that playtests are going on with outside people now for Battlefield 6, and that they're ramping it up to a level that hasn't been in the past, where they're bringing in more and more people to actually get hands-on with the game significantly ahead of launch to be like, is this actually good? Or are we going down the right path?
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to doubt these leaks. They kind of line up with some of the stuff I've heard as well.
Seems fair.
So that's good. It means
I can't wait to get accused of having access, though. I can't wait for those things. Yeah.
Well, you've
clearly played it, Matt. Not only do you have access, Matt, but when you go over there, the devs listen to every single thing you say, and any change made in that game is because of you. Yeah.
Normally, they were just making a clone of Battlefield 4 until you came along. And you're like,
I put specialists in it or something.
Yeah, you're like, what if instead of classes, they were like kind of characters with cool quips that they said when they killed people?
Names.
Yeah, but then we just see like 20 of them running around the battlefield.
That was cool. My idea. You're welcome.
Yeah. I love getting blamed for stuff. Every now and then there'll be like a Reddit thread or something on Battlefield, and I'll be reading it, and then like one of our names will come up and it'll be like, he added this to the game, and it's like some random feature that I'm just like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, I definitely got blamed. I don't know why. I don't even really make YouTube videos, but for like issues in Battlefield 2042, when the first time I played, I told you this, was day one. I played it day one, and that was it. I didn't get in early access or anything. So was there anything else that was revealed?
Just that this year is kind of ramping up for a bunch of big marketing stuff, which not unexpected, but
yeah.
I mean, are you ready?
When are we expecting it?
I would assume end of year, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
So end of year. So marketing hype is probably going to start probably in the next few months, Well, I mean, they already kind of
April
threw that BS teaser image out there that was like, whatever this means,
Wait, there was a teaser?
Well, I
missed that.
They threw out a few images, right? It was like concept arty style images of the next Battlefield. And people, analyzed it, and they're like, it could be about a war. And you're like, okay.
Oh yeah, the Battlefield game is about a war.
It confirmed that it was modern military, and that was about it.
Okay. Well, that's what I was kind of expecting anyways.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's the safe route, and I feel like EA at this point wants to be safe.
Yeah. Are you alluding to anything in particular, Matt?
No. Maybe. Yeah, maybe they're struggling currently with I saw a headline, $6 billion loss in market share, something like that.
It is, man, these big companies. So we've been talking about this for a year, how like the markets are shifting, and like these big companies that have been dominating the game industry for years by playing it safe and sticking to their formulas are now getting their butts kicked by anyone willing to innovate, right? So you got all these smaller or double A studios just making cool titles, stealing all the headlines, and the big studios are like, here's another Assassin's Creed, here's the next Battlefield or whatever, and people are like, that's cool and all, and they're getting obliterated. So both EA and Ubisoft, EA, man, I'm glad I wasn't like working at EA getting paid shares. I heard stories of people that were all like excited about their EA shares, and then the company tanks and like
tanks hard.
Half of what they're getting kind of like bonuses in, their bonus shares like just depletes in value. That would suck, man.
Yeah. A lot of people are bringing up how the recent Dragon Age underperformed. I think they sold like 1.5 million copies, and that was half of what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but they also contributed to like their live services for their football, their like soccer franchise, no longer known as FIFA. I think it's called like FC something now.
Yeah. I think they took the FIFA brand back.
Yeah, they took because they didn't want to pay it, because of course they didn't want to, which I think also probably hurt them, which is kind of ironic. But I think it's because all of their live service games right now seem to be struggling. Apex Legends, have you kept an eye on that one at all?
No, I haven't been playing it. Or is it not doing well?
Its players numbers have dropped significantly.
Wow.
It's still doing well. Like, we're talking 70,000 concurrent players at any given moment. So that's still like a ton of people. But a couple years ago, it was up to like 400,000 concurrent players on Steam. Now, this was the height of, when people had a lot of time on their hands, but still, that is a pretty big drop. And so I just think all their live services across the board are probably not doing and performing the way that they wanted to. So I think that's also not just Dragon Age, even though Dragon Age was kind of, it was an okay game.
Well, those big studios, they need to make big hits, kind of, right? Like they need to make a game that really stands out. And like Apex did that for its time, but since Apex came out, the competition in that sphere has ramped up. And not only that, but like the Royales have that audience has gone towards the extraction shooters and other types of games like that now. So it's just kind of, as that whole market opened up, like Apex naturally depreciated in value because they're just competing with a whole bunch of new genres now. So
I also think it was mismanaged with their microtransactions too. I think that turned a lot of people off. But maybe I'm completely wrong on that.
I don't know.
Having
I'm not
like
as
2
plugged
battle
into
passes
it.
a season and like hundreds of dollars to actually get specific items is nuts.
All my Apex Legends comes from Brandon, aka Rival X Factor. X Factor. And his tweets are wherever he's posting these days. Yeah, him just being endlessly angry about the game. And I'm like, wow, it sounds like things are really bad.
But still play it every day. Like, come on, play something else. There's other games out there. You can do it.
That does historically tend to represent the most vocal people about a game's issues are its most dedicated players, because they're like, hey man, I put like 100 hours into your game every month or more or whatever. I know it like the back of my hand. Here's your biggest issues if you want to make the game better. And often those people don't get listened to as much because the companies are more interested in just like making the game accessible to a big audience, and then they kind of don't have a good way to ingest retention analytics or like know how to interpret it. I don't know,
Do you feel like the live services are not as popular anymore? Or is it just people are shifting to games that are not the juggernauts? Because Jack Frags made a great video recently talking about Warzone and how Warzone has been going downhill. Apex Legends has been struggling. Rainbow Six Siege is doing okay. It's stabilized and it's doing all right, but definitely not like it was in its heyday. So are they all just those games are just Destiny 2, right? Destiny is nowhere near, right? Like it's significantly fallen.
Yeah.
Are they just going towards other games like Marvel Rivals, maybe Fortnite? I don't really pay attention to Fortnite like others, but are they moving on to single player games? Is it just the downfall of you play a game for a decade and you just want something new?
It might be that. I think the industry is very saturated, and these games that we're talking about are they get old after like a good 5+ plus year run, people are like,
Yeah.
well, I'm ready for the next thing, where
Right.
we're talking about Warzone, and it's like, yeah, it's just getting older. It's like PUBG was the biggest thing ever too, and it just kind of depreciated over time as well. So we're seeing all these kind of, you could call them live service games, or you could just call them like whatever's the biggest thing at the time, whether it's live service or not, what people are into. There's just tons of competition, and people want the next new cool thing, right? We're not all going to stick around and play PUBG every single year expecting the DLC to like wow us as much as it did the first time around, as playing the game the first time. You're just going to get a depreciating return on that dopamine kick, right? Until you get the next game that is all new and shiny and exciting, and now you're like, whoa, have you played this game? It's so much better. And maybe it's the same thing with just a different coat of paint, but it's kind of the natural cycle, right? But these big companies, they kind of lock into their brand, their genre.
Well, they're banking on people staying around for a long time.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're still making big bucks on them, but so Ubisoft, in relation to this, just closed one of their big studios, like a studio that helped make Far Cry 5 and The Division. They shut it down. They're going through massive financial issues, and they're kind of in the same boat of like kind of slow innovation, sticking to their bread and butter titles, not pushing the envelope. Yeah. Well,
kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess their big failures recently that you could point out weren't particularly innovative. They might have been newer games for Ubisoft, but in terms of like looking at the overall industry, they weren't like brand new ideas or anything.
Yes. So I don't disagree that they definitely play it safe. Without a doubt, they play it safe. But I don't think they play it as safe as people like claim that they do. We had the Prince of Persia game, the side scroller action platformer. That was fantastic, right? Really well made and didn't do very well, right? Like that's
I
not
also
your
don't
typical...
think that was like a huge investment though for them. That must have been smaller, right?
It was probably smaller, yeah. But so you got that. Skull and Bones is not your typical AAA. There's literally nothing like it out there, really, that's successful, at least to that scale. I'm not saying there's not other ship games, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like Skull and Bones, so that was a risk for sure. It was just not a very well thought out game that turned out to be pretty just kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
So I do think that one
had big studio problems written all over it, though, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, why did this game take so long? Oh, mismanaged. Changing directions like 3 times throughout production,
Right.
Those are kind of like the big studio things that just feel weird to me, where they're like, oh, I don't know, the original idea isn't cool. Like, we thought it was going to be cool and it wasn't. It's not cool. Let's shift focus entirely. And you're like, you don't see that quite as much in indie dev. Maybe it does happen as much and we just don't hear about it, but it feels like with indie projects, they're more like, here's the idea, let's get on board. We got 3 years to make the game. Like, either it's a hit or it's not, but it's kind of like more linearly focused to get to the objective.
Yeah. So I agree that Ubisoft definitely has their formulas. Like, we got the Assassin's Creed game coming out, and some people, there's been early previews, and some people are like, oh yeah, it's actually not bad. And other people are like, this is not what I'm looking for at all. So we'll see how that turns out for them. I think they're in a tough spot because they have put a lot of investment into some more risky things like Skull and Bones that maybe weren't going to be a success no matter what they did. And then they played it safe on a lot of their other properties, trying to play it safe because they want to make money. And then people are bored of that now. And they're like, okay, we want some risk, but we took risks on things that didn't turn out. And now we're where we're at.
You know what I'm curious about? And I saw a metric posted recently that showed basically the amount of games being published on Steam versus the amount of games that were selling over, like, say, $100,000 in revenue. The amount of games were going up, but the amount of games that were like hitting that successful category, even though I don't think over 100K is necessarily successful, that would be like...
Yeah, I would argue it's... I mean, if you're one guy, maybe. Yeah. But even then, it takes years to make a game.
Yeah, but either way, those metrics were not increasing. And so what it kind of says to me is that gamers we're not sitting around playing, aside from you, because you're a streamer, But
Mhm.
the average gamer is not jumping around playing like 40 different games a year.
Right.
You kind
They're
of
not.
lock into a few titles, and that's where your money goes. So
Yep.
while it seems like while there are more gamers and more money going into the industry and stuff, it's not spreading around quite as much as people would think. It's really just going towards like the big things that break out and you hear about and you go, okay, I want to play that. And so so I think a lot of these big studios are losing out a bit to that, because you get something like Helldivers, which wasn't necessarily planned to be something to take on like a Call of Duty type title or something like that, all of a sudden being a huge hit and like getting a massive chunk of the market share. And then you got like weird little like strategy games like the Manor Lords popping up out of nowhere and like becoming a mega hit and tons of people buying that. And these are all kind of like from an indie angle, versus like mega studios pushing out big titles that are big hits. We're seeing a lot more big successes on smaller or AA studios. And so I just think it's cutting in a lot more.
It might be. Yeah, might very well be. I don't disagree. Though, do you feel like people are rooting for Ubisoft to fail just because it's a big company and people are wanting it to burn because it's just a big company?
I think generally speaking, gamers are kind of like maybe not. The gaming community can very easily just be like, yeah, I don't like big corporations. And there's a huge amount of ignorance thrown at anything that's a company. They're like, company bad, people good, and you're like, yeah, but there's like 3,000 people there that are going to lose their jobs.
Exactly.
You're right. Like, don't support this company because this one executive said this thing, and you're like, but the 3,000 other people there are going to lose their jobs that might not support whatever this guy believes in, or in fact, almost certainly don't. So there's a lot of that sort of ideas being thrown around there.
Because I've noticed, especially Ubisoft, there's a ton of people who almost seem like they're gleefully wanting the new Assassin's Creed to fail so that Ubisoft becomes less and less influential and potentially, has to sell their company. And it's like, why are we rooting for the downfall of a company that makes games that people like? I mean...
Yeah, you're kind of rooting for games to be bad, right?
Yeah, because that's basically what you're doing.
As a gamer, I want as many good games to come out. Right? Yeah, I'd like more good games. And on one side, the big companies have held control over the gaming market for a long time. Like the indie market that we talk about didn't really exist in the way it is now.
Indies the way that we have today is definitely a new thing.
Yeah, totally new thing. And so people are rooting for the indie devs, and that's great and cool. And I am too, because it's kind of a purer way of making a game. Smaller team, more focused. You don't have marketing executives telling you, how to design your characters and all the crap to put into your game. So we see a lot of this like, ballooning and mismanagement and these big companies kind of ruining our games. At the same time, when a company is willing to throw $100 million or $200 million into the production of a mega game, like a Battlefield game, we get a game that's got a production value and quality that we just can't be matched.
You just cannot get.
Yeah.
You literally can't get it. Right.
And I still want those games. I still want Battlefield to be made. Yeah. EA is a giant corporation and stuff, and they've killed some of my favorite franchises like SimCity, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that either. But I don't want Battlefield to evaporate. Right. I still like it. So
yeah.
I'm not rooting for any of these big corporations to fail. But it is something that I think is not necessarily their failure, but their downsizing and re-strategizing is inevitable. Like, I think we're just going to see more and more of that. And talking to people who have worked in the industry, both at EA, like as big producers and stuff, recently, they're just talking about how much power indie devs have on the publishing and marketing side now. Like, that is not a closed gate environment that only big marketing teams have access to. Any indie dev can make a viral trailer now. You can throw a little bit of money into Facebook advertising, and all of a sudden you got like a lot of turnover rate on like people coming and buying your game. And that's become accessible to small teams now. And it's not really this thing that you need a big company for. And so that's a big part of it too, is it's no longer this closed door technology to publishing a game and getting interest. It's like, no, small teams can do it now. And it's not as hard as you think if you have a good product. So, yeah. It's cool stuff. I mean, I see more and more indie devs every day, like putting a trailer out there and it like goes viral and they're like, holy crap, I've got like 100,000 wish lists, you know? And you're like, that's amazing. Like this person's going to launch a successful title now.
I mean, you can speak from personal experience to some extent, you know, you got yours and it kind of popped off a little bit. You said last time you were at like 14,000 wish listed or something, which is pretty good.
Yeah. We'll be cranking those numbers up until launch, but it's cool. It's cool to see that translate directly over and go, okay, well, and I can track now when I make a devlog and I can see wish lists change based on the devlog or other things like that. And so I have a platform that it gives me a big advantage there, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of indie devs post really good trailers, and as long as you got a cool concept and a cool trailer, like YouTubers will start talking about it. It'll start getting shared on Reddit threads. The potential for a good trailer and a good concept to blow up is there. I'm not saying it's not hard, but it's there for everyone now. So it's cool. It's nice to see that available for so many more people before, AI comes in and then anybody can sit in front of a computer and be like, make a game that's like Battlefield.
Make game AI.
Yeah, make a game like Battlefield, but with furries. Remember that
already a thing.
Yep.
It's called Wild Assault.
Yeah, I know. It's your. I was looking at your Steam data. It's your number one played game for 2024. But that's cool. You know, it's good.
When would I find the time?
Oh my gosh, Wild Assault. I was thinking about that game the other day because. And I don't know if somebody was joking or not. Somebody came into our games Discord and was like, you should make the characters like space furries, and then posted a bunch of example art for how they should look. And I was just like, oh God, here it goes. Here we go.
Why not, right? Just pivot.
Yeah, we're
deep space combat, but with furries as pilots. Why? Yeah, go for it.
We're leaving that furry money on the table if we don't do it. That's what I was thinking.
And apparently it's a lot of money, according to the internet. A lot of money.
Oh God, it is
They'll pay a lot.
The fact that they made a Battlefield game that's like a full Battlefield game, but with like a sexy fox character.
Well, I mean, it was a demo. I don't know how much they put into it. It was like one map that I played, and it was for like an hour.
But it's like a full game, right?
Yeah, it's a full game, I guess, if you consider one map. I don't know. It hasn't released yet.
Yeah. Do you have the date circled on your calendar, or excited for that one?
Of course I do. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if they're just making a Battlefield game that is just full of furries, you're like, whoa, this is way more popular than I thought it was. I mean, you streamed it, Matt. You played Furry Battlefield.
I did.
Furry Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's a game.
Fine. Speaking of furry cozy things.
Where are we going with this?
Yeah, this is a bad transition. Okay. Cozy games. So things like...
that was a terrible transition.
Yeah. Furry animals are cozy. I don't know. Anyway. Games like Animal Crossing. Have you seen Tiny Glade? Tiny Glade's adorable. Yeah. Stardew Valley. Those types of games are like actually on the rise, like in a much bigger way. There are a lot of new games that are just about like chilling and vibing are like getting bigger on Steam. And that's where some of those battle royale game audiences are going, They're like, I just want to farm, man.
I don't want to stress out. I want to farm on a pixelated, tiny 2D farm. Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to build a castle in a tiny glade in a forest,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where those players are going. But there's studies on it now, which I find kind of comical because growing up for us, a lot of the narratives around gaming was like it increases violence and there's all these You know
Right.
what I'm talking about. There's all this
Because there wasn't any
science.
problems with violence before video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ironically, all the data indicated that violence in youth went down exactly with the popularity of like the Nintendo. Like they have the data.
Really?
Yeah. So like it was just going down as more kids were playing video games. But anyway, the narrative
Because
somehow
they've got something to do. They've got something that keeps
they're
them
not out there
occupied.
fighting each other. They're playing Mario inside.
Right.
So they were doing they've been more recent studies now that are actually showing that like an hour of like cozy gaming, or rather non I don't know, action gaming maybe, is actually like really good for your mental health and stuff like that.
I believe it.
They did a study where they said like an hour of cozy gaming versus meditation has the same results as far as I could tell. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So anybody out there is like, man, I wish I was one of those dudes that could like just sit and meditate and be like kind of spiritual and like focus on my well-being and wellness and mindfulness and all that stuff. No, just go play some Stardew Valley for like an hour and you're good. You've done the same thing.
It might be because it like turns your brain off a little bit and you can just sort of vibe. You're not stressing about the world. You're not stressing about yourself. You're just in the moment, just chilling.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're not those cozy games. A part of them is like you don't have a time limit. You're not like counting down to pick as many carrots as you can in the you know, well, you're just farming. You're just chilling. You're just building your little thing, and it's purely like a joy game with no downside to it, right?
Right.
That's kind of cool. I thought that was neat, you know, like that there's actual research behind it now saying like this is actually not bad for you. Obviously in moderation, like everything, you know.
Of course.
If you sit in front of
you're just playing cozy games all day, you're gonna have other problems. Yeah.
Probably I'm not saying play Stardew Valley for 12 hours. I'm just saying.
No, that's what he's saying. Yeah. Become a Stardew streamer. Only that.
Anyway, kind of cool research.
Cool to see research actually verifying what a lot of us kind of already expected.
Yeah, for sure. Justify our addictions, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because I don't have any problems.
No, we're totally fine. Speaking of issues, I finally burned out on Path of Exile 2, Matt.
Oh, good for you.
It's not really anything to celebrate. This is what I do with my games is I play them to the extent at which the rate of progression No, just the rate of progression can no longer keep up with what I was expecting, what I need to sustain my interest.
Right.
And so I got to a point where I'm like, well, I'm running tier 15, tier 16 maps now.
You've beaten the game.
I've beaten the game.
You've experienced the game.
I'm running the highest tier maps, and now the end game, the rest of end game progression is slowed down too much, or it's not as interesting to me, and I'm just sort of like,
are there bosses that you still need to fight that would be more progression, or is it like you've basically done it all?
There's more I can get to, but the rate at which now that basically what happens now is I have to really understand how mapping works and all the like suffixes and affixes on map tiles and all this crap, and it's not fun anymore. Now I'm like organizing crap, and it's become more of a job where I preferred things in Diablo where like you just set the level of the
and you just run
rift you want to run. I agree. And they made it too complicated in this, and it just got to a point where I'm like, okay, now I have to do more work outside of running maps and
just enjoy it.
It's not fun anymore. So I'm happy to say,
to be honest, you got a ton out of it for an early access that's only got 3 of these.
I'm not complaining about it. I think it's great because now I can stop playing it and do something else. But I've burned through it, and I'm like 90 or whatever, and I'm good.
Damn, you got pretty high. Well, how many hours did you put into the?
Not too crazy.
Know off the top of your head?
I think close to 100.
Okay,
it's not too bad.
It's good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, I put 300 in Diablo 2 when Resurrected came out. So this is better than that. I burned out faster. Woohoo!
Well, you'll have more content in like a year. Like you'll have like the full game in a
It'll
year.
give me some
Apparently.
time to like chill on it. And
Yeah.
also it's bro, it's bringing the 4090 to its knees. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, like I'm getting 60, 70 FPS on
Well, don't worry,
max.
because that 5080 is coming out soon.
5090, Mac. Come on, get your
Are
stuff.
you gonna get a 5090?
Mhm.
Of course you are.
Yes.
Of course you are.
I have a 5080 sitting over there in the corner right now. But
Oh damn.
yeah.
Okay.
Gonna
Look at this
say
man.
I'm just flexing over here with my stack of video cards in the corner. You know.
Damn. What a gamer.
Gonna say. Actually, DLSS 4 does look pretty good. The reviews on the cards have been pretty positive. There's been kind of a lot of anti-DLSS talk and stuff because it's like fake frames, as they call them, and all that stuff.
Right.
But they've kind of mastered the fake frame tech, like to the point where
Most people are not going to care what their frame rate, like if they're fake or not, if it looks and plays well.
Exactly.
That's what all people care about at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
if it does its job, I don't think the vast majority of the players are actually going to care.
Yeah. Well, and also the tech is faster on it at its core.
Oh, yeah.
It's faster tech than before. So
And supposedly it does
ultimately-
not add any input lag at all.
yeah, it's as long as it's implemented correctly. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I'm going to actually try adding it into our game soon. So we'll see.
Sick.
Yeah. Apparently it's not that hard to do. You just like drag and drop some plugin stuff and then you're like, go.
Dope.
Yeah. I say that now before exploding our entire game repo. That's actually
your
how
game just doesn't work anymore.
it's actually kind of a running joke within game production is like, yeah, this should be pretty easy. And you're like, well, you've just ensured that that's going to take 2 months to implement and we're going to have to rework half the game. Yeah. Because I said it was going to be easy.
Yep.
What have you been playing?
Played a game called Project Zomboid, but we can get to that in a second.
I know about you still playing Project Zomboid.
What do you mean still playing? It's not like I can't play a game for longer than a week, Level Cat?
No, that means you've been streaming it straight for a week?
No, I don't do that. But anyways, so I played Age of Darkness, which is a new game that just came out in 1.0, and I was whelmed by it.
Is that the tower defense type one?
Yeah, it's the They Are Billions game.
Yeah. Okay, I played that a while ago because it's been in early access for a while.
Have you played They Are Billions?
I didn't play that one, no.
Okay.
I've seen videos of it, but I didn't play it.
So it has a campaign, which I played a couple of the missions for that. It was fine. But I think the real meats of it was the survival mode, which is like the core mode where you pick like a character, a hero, and then you try to survive the nights and survive this They Are Billions style game where every night there'll be a horde of enemies that come on in. You got to stop them, and then they'll have like a big event like every 7 days or something, and then there'll be like swarms, and you have to stop them. You have to have your defenses up to stop them, and I think the reason why I'm whelmed by it is I was expecting it to be They Are Billions, but like different, right?
Mhm.
And it's literally almost across the board They Are Billions. The same strategies, the same style of buildings that you're going to be building. The fact that you move out with your units, establish like a front, build things within that place that you just cleared out, put down defenses, rinse and repeat all the way until you've got the entire map.
So they didn't
completely.
evolve. So that's interesting.
They didn't evolve
because
it at all.
I liked Age of Darkness, but I also was kind of whelmed by it. But also I hadn't played They Are Billions, so I wasn't sure how much it was evolving the concept. So you're saying it's not really.
It really just felt like I was playing a modded version of They Are Billions.
Oh,
not
man.
a bad one, but like it was so similar.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I don't want to. I've already played the game. You know, I've played it when They Are Billions, and so if it was my first time, then great. But it wasn't, and I also had a problem with their. It was trying to be more micro intensive, where you have your hero, you know, and they've got abilities, and you've got a bunch of units you need to micromanage to make sure they don't die. But it just became tedious because they've got like a bunch of AoE and explosive monsters that you have to fight. So if you are like, oh, I'm just going to let my character and those guys just sort of push slowly this direction, And then if you look away to go build, or you don't pause the game, you look back and everything's dead because they aggroed something that just those explodey ones, and just everything died. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great. There's so many like just AoE where I'm like,
I don't like micro in this types of games.
Yeah,
where
it doesn't help that the like AI not only feels really sluggish, like I'll be like command, I'll like run away, and it'll take it like a second for them to react.
Yeah,
and then when I try to get them through like a gate, if you use certain like bigger units, like their catapults and stuff, they physically will bump into each other, and I had to pull everything back and then do one by one by one. And I'm like, this is awful. What are you doing?
I don't know how they handle unit movement in games when you have like 10,000 units, moving around. I don't envy the person in charge of that, but I don't think they found the best solution for it or whatever, because stuff gets stuck a lot. Yeah.
And that was my big issue. So I enjoyed my time to some extent, but it was, like I said, it was just kind of I was whelmed. I was like, it's They Are Billions. I played this. So not
medieval version of They Are Billions, right?
Mm-hmm. Which I did like the thematics. Yeah. I did like that. I like the whole Templar. Yeah, It was cool. That was cool for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a sucker for those kind of games. I think they're fun.
I love tower defense. I love it.
It's so addicting, man, because you're just like, this is bullshit. Like, I see what you're doing.
What if I try this time, right? What if I go like this route, Yeah.
Well, and this game has that sort of adjacent type boosting things, and I like that. I'm trying to remember, but you can put like different types of archers and towers, or like bonuses or something. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to give these guys the bonuses, and now they're like pumped up and they're like doing better. And those types of things are really fun. So when you have tower defense with adjacency bonuses, then you're like, oh man, like look how powerful. I've put the special spotting tower next to my cannon tower, and now it's shooting further and it's getting bonus damage. And it starts getting fun. And you're like, oh man.
Agreed.
Yeah. You should check out, I know I mentioned this last podcast, but the Beyond All Reason, I think I linked it to you on Discord after our last podcast. And it's like the Total Annihilation spiritual successor.
Yeah,
I believe it's totally free. They've been making some lighting updates to it. Now it just looks incredible.
Cool.
But yeah, it's one of those like, here's 1,000 units and
good luck.
An assembly line, an automated assembly line for your base. So your base and then you can do crazy crap where you're like, I'm just going to put the waypoint for my factories on like my current army, and so like your factories are just reinforcing your army that's already moving constantly across. So cool. Yeah, so you can just have these insane things, and you're just like,
that's neat.
Yeah. Oh, and then you can have like an automatic air transport like taxi service where you've created like air transports that'll like wait here to pick up units, and then you say, well, I need these units to go over there, so you tell them to go to your air transport waypoint, and they automatically get picked up by all your air transports, and then we'll fly over.
That's cool.
And then your air transports will have an automatic fighter escort that you've assigned to them, and then those will fly with it. And so you can set up like supply lines and like all these cool strategies, and it's got a lot of really cool stuff going for it. They just kind of like,
dope.
Yeah, you just jump in and you're like, whoa, I can't believe this game has all this crazy stuff like working already.
Very cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I recommend checking that one out. I'm going to be taking a look at it. I watched a movie, Matt, that I mean, okay, I'm going to say this as if like I just discovered it, but everybody's probably seen it already because I think Demi Moore won an Academy Award or something for it.
I think I've heard of it.
Have you seen The Substance?
I've not. I don't watch many movies though.
Okay, you should watch this one.
That's the
Matt.
one where she's got like alien eyes.
That is a weird. Like if you saw one clip of the film, you might think that.
I saw one image in it, and she had like two eyes.
That's the movie.
Two pupils.
That's the movie.
That's kind of alien-esque, right? A little bit. It's a little creepy.
It's so hard to talk about the movie without giving away stuff. It is incredible, though.
It's really good.
I watched it, and then I had to learn all about the director. Then I had to learn all about the making of the film. It's mostly done with practical effects. There is a lot of effects in it. It's very surreal. The way it's shot is kind of like reminds me of like being John Malkovich, with just all these weird camera angles and like things that just make you feel like you're in reality, but not really reality. It's like sort of like a dream version of reality.
Okay.
And yeah, Demi Moore's like she's like a fitness instructor who's like got her like TV fitness show, and she's kind of aging out of the industry, right? She's getting older, and you know, the industry guy gets rid of her for the new hot girl type thing. And she's sort of looking for a way to get some of her youth back or and whatnot. And
we as a society need to just embrace the beauty of aging.
I know.
This like fascination with like being young is I get it, but man, the toll that we put on people, holy hell.
Yeah. So this movie is very much about that. But it goes, I've never seen a movie escalate to a point where I'm like, this has got to be it, right? It can't possibly go any further. And then it's like 20 more minutes of just like,
it's going.
They're like, no, we're going to step it up. And then I'm like, okay, I can't take it anymore. This is getting way too insane. And then they're like, no, we're going to take it up another step. And it is wild. It's gonna be a cult classic. It just has that vibe all over it. It's I don't think I'm gonna watch it again because I spent a significant portion of time looking away from the screen.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where I was like,
boy,
okay, just I'm gonna wait till the sound effects stop, and I'm gonna look over here.
Is it body horror?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate body horror.
It is so good though, Matt. It's really good.
So good that you had to look away?
It's that good of a movie. It's that good of a movie that I'm recommending something that is without question designed to be uncomfortable, but also amazing at the same time.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. It's solid. It's amazing. I'm going to be following this director now. I'm like, well, what else is she going to make? I can't wait for that movie. It's going to be amazing.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. So that's my recommendation. And then after you watch it, we can talk about it.
I mean, I don't know.
Go watch it, Matt.
Oh yeah. I'll watch it.
Just turn off Crunchyroll for one night. Pop in this movie. You'll be hooked. You'll make it 10 minutes and you'll be like, okay, I got to see what happens now. I got to see what's going to happen.
I'm not going to help myself because the show I watched was Castlevania Nocturne, which is literally an anime.
Is that the Netflix?
That's the Netflix one. Yeah.
Is that the same one or did they make a new one?
So they made it's like a sequel, but it takes place generations after the original Castlevania.
Yeah.
So it's like new characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. Season 1 was fine. Like
I don't think I finished of the sequel or the first one.
The sequel.
Okay. Gotcha.
Nocturne.
Yeah.
It's called Castlevania Nocturne.
Yeah.
And I wasn't super impressed with season 1, and then season 2 came out, and I was like, oh, I'll give it another try. And then season 2 was a banger. Yeah. It was nice. It was fantastic. The animation quality was unbelievable. Probably some of the best animation. Oh, it was absolutely
That's amazing
insane.
Because the original the first show that I saw
first show was amazing as well. I thought
the animation was kind of okay-ish, but
the fight scenes in particular are so well choreographed where I'm just like, they look a little weird. There's always something a little weird about Castlevania's animations because the characters in the background always seem to sort of clash a little bit where you're like, it looks like they're not a part of the scene, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And that's still true for this, but they a lot of money went into the animations and the fight scenes, choreography and everything like that. And like just some really cool, fun moments where characters are just doing like really badass stuff. I also like the story a lot too. There was like some really fun delving into like what makes someone good, what makes someone bad. And
I like the first that what they did with the first show on that too. Like the vampires were interesting, the politics were interesting. You're like, oh, this isn't just some lame show that's just about like vampires ripping people apart and like that's it. You know?
It is that too.
There's a lot of that, but there's politics behind it. Yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I kind of like this idea of a universe where like the vampires are kind of like these demigods, and like people are deciding if they're going to fight against them or they're going to fight for them, or like how they're related. The dynamic works. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I really liked. I thought season 2 was great. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those situations where it's like you have to get through season 1, and season 1 was only fine, but season 2 really picks up.
Okay. I'll keep it on my radar. I didn't dislike the first one. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I really liked the first original. I also saw Severance. Have you been keeping up with Severance at all?
Is it done? Is the second season done? No. Okay, so I was going to wait to re-up my subscription when they finish the second season.
There's only like 2 episodes out right now. It's weird. It's Severance. But man, the attention to detail is absolutely bananas. Without getting into spoilers, there is a scene in episode 1 where things happen and you're like, okay, it's just a scene. And then the second episode comes out and there's another scene. And what you don't realize is that it's the same thing. The scenes are connected, right? So if you put them side by side, you'll notice that they're connected, right? But what you don't realize is that they are exactly connected. You put them side by side and the things that are happening connect and flow into the other scene flawlessly, as if and I'm just like, you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to make it this connected and like that attention to detail. That wasn't necessary. No one would have noticed just on their passive. Well, I've noticed it because I went online and the internet notices all, right? So
that's cool though, right? Mm-hmm. It's neat when they put that kind of attention to detail into things, and you're just
that
like
passion where it's like this. It's more of a flex. They didn't need to do it. No one would have critiqued them if they did it. If they didn't, but they did.
Yeah. Did Ben Stiller direct Severance?
I think he is a producer.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. It's such
maybe I don't know. Let me see.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned Severance because The Substance has some interesting Severance vibes in it that I think you would enjoy.
Oh, I can't tell what he is for it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm very excited for season 2. I think season 1 Severance is some of the best TV that's like ever been made. It's so good.
It's good. It's very good. It's weird, and it's not going to be for everybody because it's just weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, also sort of the cat's out of the bag with that concept now, and I feel like more people are going to run with it. In fact, The Substance kind of runs with that concept a little bit. Okay. So I think we're going to see more of it, and it's going to become less exciting the more we see it. Where it's, you know what I'm saying? Where like the idea is so interesting, and it's so interesting that other people are going to copy it for a while, and then people will go back and watch it and be like, I've seen this concept before, and you're like, yeah, but this was the first time somebody did it well.
Yep.
Everybody else is copying it, you know.
I mean, it's the whole idea of 2 of you in one body kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without getting into spoilers, because like that's the concept of the show, right? Like I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that.
No, I mean, yeah, that premise becomes pretty clear early on, and then it's just about managing that. Yeah,
that's the show. It's literally the show.
It makes me think about, and this is, I don't know, it's sort of a similar concept, but there's an episode of Black Mirror where in the future, this like wealthy woman has a smart home, and to program her smart home, she makes a copy of her brain into the smart home computer. Yeah. And then she basically just has to like create a copy of herself and then torture that copy. right. To keep her.
You're going to manage this. Like, what do you mean? This is my existence now? I'm you. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, that's a fun twist on that whole concept of like, yeah, so there's going to be a copy of you, you're okay with like the whole idea of it is like if you sever yourself so that you only remember half of your life when you're on it, you're okay with torturing the other half of your life, even though it's still you as a person.
Yeah. Yep.
It's insanity, and it's kind of wonderful and horrifying at the same time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's fun. They really dive into some fun concepts. Man, sci-fi is the best, right?
It really is.
They really get to poke and prod at the existence of humanity. You're just like, man, are we
the human
really
condition? What makes us us?
Yep. It's always been fun. Even like original Star Trek shows, you know, always threw those like philosophical conundrums at you. Do I tell the person and disrupt the timeline and save their life, or do I sacrifice them for the greater good, you know? Those fun conundrums.
Yep.
Would you disrupt the timeline, Matt? If you could go back,
I guess it depends on what I'm disrupting. What would be the effects?
If you could go back and give your past self advice, or like tell them what to do.
I don't know what I would do to my past self. You know, be more outgoing. Like stop being such a weirdo. I don't know. Like,
but if you said that, would you even like? What would you do with that advice?
Yeah, I don't know what I would do to like. Yeah.
Be less of a weirdo. How would you interpret that? How would younger Matt interpret that advice?
My older self comes back and he's like, "Don't be weirdo." Like, Jesus, what do you do with that knowledge?
Also,
like,
if you're
okay,
you're like, I didn't think I was being weird.
Well, he must get real bad at some point.
Yeah, Matthew says invest in NVIDIA. Yeah, that's the obvious one, okay?
Yeah, stuff like that. But,
buy Apple when it's cheap. Yeah, we get it, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know what I would do to like change the way I am. Yeah. You know, what would I tell myself, you know? So, I don't know.
Yeah, because like, you don't want to disrupt. Things could be worse too, right? Like, you're like... Oh my!
Because that's the thing. It's like, if I did that thing in high school, if I dated that person, if I had that job, my life would be completely different. Would it be better? Maybe. Could it be worse? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice, man.
You are rolling the dice.
Fun butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm.
There was there was a show that kind of dealt with that concept in I can't remember what I was watching, but there was a thing that dealt with the concept of a guy like changing a weird thing in the past and then coming back to the future, and he has different kids.
Yikes.
Because if you messed with their timeline a little bit and changed the timing of anything,
right,
and you conceived your children in a different day, even a minute later, a different sperm is going to fertilize the egg and you're going to have different children. And I was like, holy crap, I've never thought about that. That's wild. So it just comes as like, yep, your kids are different now. And you're like, oh my God.
That's crazy. You're right. Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They never deal with that in any of those shows.
They really don't.
Because then if you think about it, you're like, okay, not only would your kids be different, people would be different. So like if you go back 20 years and you mess with something, like everybody, you know, and that has a widespread effect.
Okay, yeah, because if you say it like that, because then literally everyone that is affected by your change, if they have children after that, then those children are now different, which means all of those are different from then on out.
Just different people. You come back to the future, everybody you know is not there anymore. They're different people, you know?
Right.
Chaos.
And then their children's children is then different because...
Yeah, because all of those shows, like that movie, The Butterfly Effect and whatever... They always do the thing where it's like, oh, look, the person's now like homeless on the street instead of a successful business person or whatever. But they don't deal with the fact that like maybe they weren't born in the first place or all of that other stuff. And
dude, that's actually wild. That actually is probably the biggest reason why you would never want to change the timeline, because it would be a completely different. That's if there's a timeline, you know. We just you know.
Sure. Well, I mean, tons of movies and books play with that concept, right? So it's like if you went back in time to before you were born, it's like, don't do anything.
Don't touch anything. Don't even breathe.
Yeah.
Just go back. Stop.
You will not be born. You're ending your existence, dude.
Yeah. You change anything.
Yep.
That affects the person. Nuts. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, nor had I until I saw. I can't even remember what I was watching that like brought up that concept, and I was like, "Oh my god, you're right." And they just showed it in the most mundane way you could. I mean, in a still horrifying way, where you're just like, "Oh, I love my children."
Makes you kind of appreciate it even more that you're the person you are, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because if it was a second later or a second before, you'd be a different person.
Yeah, timeline logic doesn't. I mean, fortunately, I don't think there's really such thing as going back in time.
No, we can time travel though. We're doing a great job of it right now, you and I.
Yep. Well, you can change the rate of time, which is cool, and like the
by
theory.
Traveling faster. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be pretty wild, right? If you did the like Matthew McConaughey thing and whatever it's intergalactic. What's that movie called?
Interstellar.
Yeah. Be sick.
It would be sick, but
kind of, and sad.
It depends on how you do it, I guess. If you got your family with you, then hey, cool, they're along for the ride.
Yeah. Everybody else you ever knew is dead, but it's cool.
Yeah.
You got new future friends to make, right?
Yeah. Hopefully with better technology, and we've solved all the problems.
Yeah, that's where we're going. Did you see there was an interview with Sam Altman, the guy who runs OpenAI?
No.
And he was like, next 3 to 5 years, I mean, we're gonna have a societal like complete restructuring because of
in a good way, right?
It didn't. He didn't say
in like a positive way, right?
Boy, I hope so, Matt. We've never been good about doing things the right way the first time around as a species, We're more of a like, whoops, that didn't work. Let's make some alterations. Yeah. He basically said like, we're going to like, this technology is going to change so much stuff about society that we are going to like have a massive reorganization, upheaval, shift in everything in like the next 3 to 5 years. And that freaks me out. I've heard, I'm not going to say who, but there's a guy I know who's researching. He's actually like learning AI tech right now and was sort of like telling me some behind the scenes stuff because he's like deep on the programming side of it. And he's just like, things are going to get wild like very soon. And I'm just like, oh God, like, how do you prepare for that, Matt?
In a good way.
How do you prepare for that?
You literally can't.
We can't. We just say, what do we, do I prep? Do I stock the garage full of water? Like, what do I do?
I mean, you probably should have some water stocked. Yeah. At all times.
Sure. That's what the toilet tanks are for, Matt. They fill up with water. And then
you can do that.
Ladle it out,
No, but legitimately, you should have water. You should have like some food and like freeze-dried food.
What do you
stuff like that.
What do you prep in Project Zomboid? What's your prep routine?
Oh my God, bro. Project Zomboid is such a vibe. So what's so much fun about that game is that there's always little things that keep you like having to adjust and adapt and like overcome, right?
Yeah.
And so you start off and the power's on, the water's on, and you're good to go. You're taking out a couple zombies here and there, and then the water shuts off and you're like, oh, that's not good. Okay. Well, now how do I get water? Oh, okay, well, I can go to a stream. I can maybe get some rainwater, things like that. And then the power shuts off.
Iodine and stuff to like kill the bacteria?
There is a couple of ways for you to clean water that way. Yeah, with like chemicals. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't really come across many of it, but most people just boil your water from like rain. Even though rain should be technically
you have
clean.
A lot of, boiling takes time and a lot of heat. So like,
it does.
Are you boiling it with what? Because I assume the natural gas shuts off, right?
So I think of the game, I haven't actually gotten to the point, but as long as you have power, you can use your stove.
Okay.
So yeah,
I guess an electric. Yeah, dude, you know what we need? Truly, the best prepping solution is like solar panels and like a battery system. Because most solar panels, when you install them now, they actually don't work unless you can power it from the grid, which is a huge design flaw.
That does seem like a design flaw.
They're coming up with ways around it because there's just a certain way that power is distributed that doesn't quite work with however they're setting it up. But solar panels and then like an electric stove, like that seems like the most important thing for the apocalypse, right? Power source. Because now you have a cooking source. Yeah.
So it's just this really fun balance of like you're constantly trying to struggle against just your basic needs of your character, and then going out and trying to get better stuff and enhance your base and going out and exploring. And it's, I don't know, there's just something about that it
Yeah.
really does tickle that survival, zombie survival. Like, what would you do? What would you do in this situation? How would you survive? And
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, we also instinctively, I think, have a pack rat in all of us, you know,
Yeah.
where we're like, we
Yeah.
need to build up stores for the winter, you know, and there's this like kind of subconscious lizard brain side of us that's like, we must do this. We must gather food supplies. And so any game that can tap into that and better yet reward you for it, you know, is like, that definitely scratches that itch. Cause you get that in like, say in our action RPG where I'm like, oh, I'm collecting all the unique items in the game or whatever. I'm kind of pack ratting them, but I don't really need them. You know, I might use like 1% of them. But a game that rewards you for it, like Zomboid, where it's like, yeah, store as much water as you can because you might need it someday, you know, when you're screwed or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like it.
Yeah. Well, how, like, if you die, is it game over?
Yeah.
Like start from the start game over?
So what happens is that, there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can just start a new playthrough. And a lot of people do that because you get the benefits of when you start, you've got all the power on, you've got the water on, right? And you can watch television at certain times of the day that will level up your character's carpentry and cooking and things like that. Early on, and carpentry in particular is really important. So that'll give you a nice boost. And you can start a new character, or you can come back in the same map, find your character who died, kill your character, take all your loot, go back to the base that you set up with that character, and then basically you're back to where you were before with all of your stash. What you don't have though is all of the skills that your character leveled up. Okay. And that's the big grind. And that can be, so if you don't have carpentry level 3, all those things that your character was able to build, like a rainwater collector, they cannot do that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't think about, you know what? That's a good prep thing to think about too, is like, man, just like download YouTube videos on like how to build stuff, right? Like download YouTube videos on electronics, building, like all the things you might need to learn. Well,
it's not even download, right? When you think about it, you probably would want to literally print physical printing of like manuals. And I
guess I am assuming that you would have solar power, but if you didn't have that, then
if you didn't have power at all, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because even if you have generators, right, and you've got oil, the oil eventually will go bad, and you won't have a power source through like oil. So yeah, you really would have to rely on solar.
I want to do that someday. I want to get like solar installed and then like a battery backup system, and then just see how long, or like do some tests, you know, like power off, shut down the main grid and be like, okay, how many days
long can we
make
survive?
Yeah. Apparently like, I don't know if this is a feature yet, but they're talking about it where like the Ford Lightning and I think a Tesla also, because they have such big batteries in them for electric vehicles, they can be used as your battery backup system for a house. So if the power goes out, the car can power your house for like quite a while, like a really long time, because they have like, I don't know, 20 grand, 30 grand worth of batteries in them, like a lot of batteries. And so they're like better than most battery backup systems you would buy anyway. So they're like, yeah, just as long as your car is plugged in, we can feed power back into the house and you're good to go. I'm like, oh, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Builder and Applesauce in chat says that Anchor has a power system that already does what I'm talking about, feeding it back in the grid. Yeah, they were working on that tech last time I researched it, and I think they're like right at the edge of like launching a product where you could both feed back into the grid but also exist without the grid. It feels
like something that should be possible.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool. I think we should, I mean, I grew up in California where they had like rolling blackouts and brownouts and all that fun stuff because the power grid is just tapped to the max. So it made a lot of sense over there to be like, yeah, I need an alternate power source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
generator or something.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have stores, Matt? You got water or no?
I mean, not really. No.
Yeah. You're just
No,
telling
I've got
people
some
to
stuff.
get. Okay. Oh, you do? What do you have?
A little pantry with, some foods and stuff. You know how it is.
I'm trying to get your prepping list. What do you got ready to go? In a moment's notice.
I mean, if there was like a big natural disaster,
I'm not going to raid your house, Matt. Like I'm going to.
Well, no, of course not. I just don't know what you want from me. I've got food and like this is like a little bit of water.
I know
and
you're
food.
prepping. How many days can you make it? You gonna make it?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't been a week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Should establish a game plan. That's what I need to get going with the neighborhood. Is like a neighborhood prep plan. Like
there you go.
Who are the hunters? Who are the gatherers? Who's got the power?
So like the thing that I have prepared is for like if something goes really bad and like there's an earthquake and then the infrastructure gets shut down or whatever and you don't have clean water and there's not a really great way to go get food, then I've got at least something that will last. I've got like meals, freeze-dried meals, things that you can cook with just water, right? I got that stuff. And that'll last probably a while. I don't know the exact amount. I haven't like looked into it. But if like it's literally the end of the world, like I'm not prepared for the apocalypse.
No, I'm not. Cap. No. Just wondering to the extent you don't have like those buckets of chow that they sell. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Those gross buckets where they're like, this stuff will last forever and you can eat it for like years, and you're just like, oh god, it looks so gross, so disgusting.
Yeah. Nothing like that.
Okay.
Because I feel like as long as you can last a couple of weeks, at that point, hopefully things have stabilized and people can get into wherever you are. And, the infrastructure is improved by that point so that you don't have to survive off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. They made that movie recently where everybody was talking about it for a little while. It had like Kevin Bacon in it and I think Sandra Bullock was in it, maybe. I can't remember. But, it was like society gets shut down by like these weird sounds that are happening.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that movie. It was good until it ended, and then it was just an ending.
Yeah, it had a lot of silliness to it. And it wasn't explained, but that was kind of sort of the point where you're just like, yeah, as long as they just sow enough confusion, like you can really just destroy society, right? If people can't get the information they need.
Yeah, that movie was also just weird because there was like this moment with deer and the deer had nothing. I was like, this is stupid. Yeah. And so it was one of those movies where it was like, we need to have everything be weird and keep ramping the anxiety. And it was anxiety all throughout. And I was like, wow, that, it accomplished that goal. But then it just sort of ended. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. But I wonder, because in those movies, they always say something like the government has a plan for like how to shut down society in like 2 weeks or something like that, and this is what they're doing. And I'm like, is this based on anything real? Do we have those kind of plans?
I'm sure we do. I'm sure the government has plans for tons of different scenarios. Yeah.
Super cool. I want to see those. Yeah. Be good. That'd be a good read,
They'll never actually tell you because then they would be disclosing their information, which would then give other parties a clue on what to do to counter it. But I'm sure they have plans.
Yep. It's good to know. All right. You want to, what are you playing today, Matt? More Zomboid?
So the next couple of days are going to be fun because there's a new Orcs Must Die that's releasing. Mm-hmm. It's called Orcs Must Die. I don't remember.
Again.
Something. Yeah. Again. Yeah. It's pretty much. And I love that franchise, even though it's goofy. It's really fun for me. So I'll be checking that out. I think tomorrow is when that releases. So it'll be out by the time this podcast launches. And then there's Sniper Elite on the 30th. So that'll be cool to check out. There's then February starts, and then that's just the snowball of just game after game after game.
Sniper Elite's the one where you can like nut shot people, right?
Yeah. Slow motion.
Super cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nut shot the zombies. Not the zombies, the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like how How many sniper elites have they made at this point? They've made quite a few
lot.
of them, yeah. And it's all
pretty
just
much
the same thing. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just sniping zombies. Or why do I keep calling Nazi zombies?
Because they have a Nazi zombie mode, I think,
true.
in some of them.
There's
So
too many
that probably,
Nazi zombie games.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. It's the franchise that keeps on giving the exact same experience, but we keep playing it for some reason.
I don't know if they have it, and I hope that they do. They're in the previous one, they had a invasion mechanic where you could invade other people's games, and then it would be like a cat and mouse.
Oh,
So
that's
you're
cool.
not only having to deal with the map, right, and everything else, but then you have to deal with this other person trying to take you out. And it was fun. It was a cool mechanic.
That's way cooler because the AI get kind of boring after a while. You're
They
just
can be, yeah.
He's gonna pick up the newspaper and then I shoot him in the butt, or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, that's how I assassinate. I don't know how you assassinate.
Yeah. He picks up the newspaper and then you just kick him right in the ass. Yeah.
You go for the butt shot, It's just watch that hip
My one
bone
weakness,
shatter.
the gluteus maximus.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's wrap up the old Potteroonie there. Thank you everybody for dropping by, hanging out. We hope you enjoyed. Check out our Patreon once again in the video description. And you can check us out live if you become a Patreon member and join us for the post-podcast show, which we are about to do before Matt gives you some incredible life advice.
Make sure to have enough dried food and water so that if you are cut off from infrastructure during a natural disaster, you have something to live on. Hey, look at that. Look at that. We just blended it from the topic that we just talked about to the end. It is good advice. It is legitimately.
Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I do have some water supplies, but I have not updated them in a while. Like, it probably would not be good to drink it.
Yeah.
I should get some new stuff. And refresh your supplies every, couple of years.
Every so often. Yeah.
Or whenever. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.